Everyone, allow me to have the pleasure of giving you guys the keys to the kingdom. So, in this lesson, the things that I'm about to discuss are um, the lessons and the tips and the strategies and the structures of closing from stage. So, this is going to be the closing part of the sales pitch of those of you who are using events, whether in person or virtual, as your main sales driving process, right? So, um, whether it's free, whether it's paid, whatever it is, if this is the model and you're being a sales speaker, then in this video, I'll try to break down the whole process from showing the offers to then creating the value stacks and then stacking offers on top of each other and the urgency and the scarcity and all of those things, and also how to do it the right way. So before I get into this, just clarifying a few things. Also, the fundamental being the fact that this is ideally should be the first thing you do when you're building your sales presentation. Again, I've marketed 1,000 plus sales events and worked with them and crafted their offers on this section. And it took me way too long to learn this. As a matter of fact, I compiled this framework very recently after analyzing everything that I knew. Um, because I've seen a lot of mistakes. So be careful of these well in advance. First one is people who are building their presentations start by focusing too much on the whole keynote first and trying to jam as much value as they can. And then when they're presenting, they go off tangent, and what that results in is you're rushing through your offer at the end, or the disconnect between the materials of the presentation and the offer because you were not able to match it, and people see the fall in the energy. So even if your presentation was great, and then at the end you fail at selling, if you walked in with the intention of this being a sales close, then it doesn't really matter, right? Because if your goal was just to provide people value, then you can just do it by sending them videos or something. So hopefully, if you're doing this, then you're trying to convert. That's what this module is for, at least. And the other thing is, if you make the offer first and the closing section first, it makes it very easy to build everything, reverse engineering the whole presentation behind it, because now you know the urgency, the scarcity, the inclusions, and how you can connect that with everything else, right? So that's sort of like some of the fundamental frameworks. So start here, build this first, and then build the rest of thing afterwards. The other thing I want you guys to be careful of is, so this is the exact same play and framework that if you've been to self-development conferences, you would have seen people use this, like presenting the offers, running to the back of the table, the way to structure it, the way to present it, the way to sell it. And I've simplified it a lot so that anybody who's starting out can take it. In the beginning, like this is a tried and tested method, so just use it for what it is. Um, but at the same time, don't um, misuse it. Because we'll be doing a case study for this one, and I will be using Alex Hormozy's 100 million leads book launch as the sort of example, because he used it almost near to perfect, that if he wanted, he could have made a lot, but he chose not to, right? But that's like the analysis. Why is that's the best case study that is also publicly available and has a million views. Yet on the other hand, I've seen people use the exact same structure and strategy to sell scammy products and make promises they couldn't deliver on. But the thing is, the nature of this clause is it's so good that if you're selling it from stage, 10% of the audience or 15% of the audience or whatever people that are gullible or anything, however you want to position it, they're gonna buy it anyways. And then the rest you can make the offer so good by presenting it in this manner that you'll get them over the fence. So you can absolutely use this to close. But I have seen this happen way too many times of people misusing the urgency or misusing the guarantees or anything to make promises, because there's a whole industry around this, which I was a part of, that within which the success of the overall close is not decided based on the retention of the client or the customer experience or the number of lives changed or anything like that, but it's more determined on the front end cash collected. And that's what people optimize for. And whenever they make a mistake, or that's what they compare their results against, where like if you didn't make enough sales, then you did something wrong. So what ends up happening is people cut corners and they're to make more sales. They know these things they shouldn't be doing, but they do them. Where they might make promises they can't deliver on, like And I've seen this thing happen, and I've been on the receiving end of it, where if you don't make 10 times your ROI, you'll pay the half later, or you can have a money back, but then they have conditions in the agreement which makes that almost impossible, or just all of these really smart ass moves that at the heat of the moment, because when the presenter is doing this, there's high energy, you want to take that action. You feel like you're at the top of the world. And I mean, you're the one who's doing that for the audience, but then it's very easy to get swept by it and then end up making a choice that you could regret later. And that kills the business, actually. That's the thing people don't tell you about. So there are people who have accepted the fact that they're labeled as, let's just say, assholes, all right? Because their product is shit and they're just gonna sell. And then by some miracle, you get, because this is survivorship bias, you'll have 3% of testimonials, or sorry, 1% to 3% of your students or whoever ends up buying gets extremely great results, which always happens. You look at the education system, the school system, it's the worst possible system, right? But yet there are still students there that get to the top of the class. And then those ones are used as the branding element where this school got this much grades. But you forgot all the failures, right? And people don't notice them. Nobody talks about them. Um, so if your product is horrible, that's the point. Fix the product, fix the fulfillment. Hopefully, your goal here, or the reason I'm making this, is not so I can enable people who um, don't care about the customer to just use this tool to misuse it. The reason why this training or this whole module is made so you can change lives. So the ones who want to create an impact but don't know how, use these things to enable them to do that, right? It's for those of you who want to change. And that's like what the coaching space and the self-development space is for. It's for having that impact on others, right? So be mindful of that. Don't lose sight of your values as you're walking down this path. It is very easy, and then it becomes like a golden handcuffs because now you have clients that you need to fulfill, and then you start compromising because then you bullshit them and they don't ask for refunds. And then you have the next event, and then you realize that you start relying more and more on these easy sales tactics without fixing the fundamental issue, which was your offer or your delivery. And then you just make the presentation better to make up for the lack of refunds, and then you get stuck in this cycle where you need to sell more to make more, and people leave, and then you need to sell more again. So be mindful of that. All right. Others might be doing it, you don't need to follow them. They're also not making money because most of these guys, they wouldn't want to be in those shoes. Or they have something that you're missing because there's always a cost. If it doesn't like, and again, to be clear, I'm fine with people wanting to make money, but this is not the best strategy of making money if where you just rely too much on um, tricking people into making a decision without having the backing of delivering that service that they expected, and then their expectations are crushed, and then they don't want to work with you, and you lose your reputation and stuff like that, and then you're living in denial, and then there's all of this constant drama that goes on in your life. And trust me, the life of a business owner or a coach is already difficult as it is. Don't make it worse. I mean, yeah, it makes things easier, but then it becomes annoying later. Go all in, use this to your advantage. Try to do the best you can, but be responsible with it. All right. So before we get started, I'll briefly share my screen. And there are two publicly available sales keynotes that you guys can find that I recommend you watch. This is the one that I'm more inclined towards because I look up to the guy and he did a great job in this one. And he didn't even sell, that was the best part. But he used it to build that, take it to the climax, and executed it perfectly. Let me also increase my lights. Right, perfect. Well, I'm showing my screen, so let's get started. Now, this is Alex Hormozi's $100 million lead launch. I'm just going to make it slightly back, and let's play it from here.
For discovering this new way that 17
Actually, maybe I'll just turn the description down as well. So let's have a look.
acquisition.com in 3 months. So this is 2022. So I already still had a lot of traffic. We had a relatively big audience even last year. And this was when he introduced a new lead magnet using this. And I was already doing millions a month before discovering this new way that 17x my leads. All right, so for you, do you think you can at least double your lead flow overnight? Probably. For me, the system cost me 23,700, but I would
Let's
in the
forget
back.
all of this.
Or you want to start a side hustle, or you're about to launch a new project, or you have less than 20 customers, then pay attention. I made this for you.
That's the transition.
The first 5 clients framework. Here's how it'll make you money. Let's say you want to get leads for a new thing on a $0 budget. You're going to want a way to advertise that's reliable, low risk, repeatable, and low cost. And warm outreach is a single advertising method that best meets these requirements. So if you need to get customers, this is the fastest, cheapest, and most certain way to get them. And using warm outreach the right way will get you the first 5 customers that you need to start the business, quit the job, or launch the new product. In fact, Alexis used the principles from First 5 Clients Framework to start her first online business and got her first 3 customers in her first month. And then got 3 more customers the next month. And then got 3 more customers the next month. And then she used some of the more advanced stuff that I'm going to show you in a second and went from 3 customers per month to 3 customers a week. And the best part is the First 5 Clients Framework works no matter what you sell. So here's what it'll show you how to do. The exact opener want to buy, how to
I'm just skipping it ahead because
works every time. I used to get my first clients for free. It took me to figure it out. Just give you the shortcut, aka the fun way. You can start tomorrow. And for many
you can
of you
start tomorrow,
today,
future
this
pacing.
is the to quit your job and start that business that you have been thinking about. And even though quitting your job and pursuing your dream is priceless, to make sure you can actually get started, I value the First 5 Clients Framework at only a fraction of my investment time and money
And then you
at
connect him with a
$297.
W.
So here's what you get. You can get a lead magnet mastery so you
Now
can
here's the thing, then he moves on to the next one, and I'm not going to cover all of them because it's too long. And then he reaffirms at the end, so I'll just show you the stuff that I want you guys to pay attention to. He does the same thing for the next one, and then he says,
which I value today at 1,000th of my investment of time and money at $1,997. So here's what you get. Number one is I'll show you how to cut your lead cost in half using lead magnet mastery.
so he covers this, then he mentions the next one,
to get customers on. You're going to get the most immediate
and then
consequences.
so he's repeating all the inclusions again, right? Now let's move this even further. So what happens when he mentions all the inclusions? So he mentions the whole offer stack. All of these things are included. You get this, you get this, you get this, you get this. There's more. You get this, you get this. And this is the annoying part, finding where he closes the offer. There, give me a second. It's fine. You guys have some time, right? Since I'm so he summarizes the whole thing again. And I think there was one thing left. Yeah, let's play this here. So every single time he covers the thing, he repeats everything else.
To get more customers. You're gonna have the referral playbook.
It's called stacking inclusions.
That can scale with the highest margins. And you're gonna get the affiliate playbook, which allow you to partner with other businesses to get you more leads. And the $0 to $100 million scaling roadmap from someone who's actually been there. Total value $1,276.
Total value. This is all the stuff you're gonna get.
This is all the stuff you're gonna get.
It feels like he's selling it at this price point. But then, let's keep watching.
Listen, these systems.
And then this is the price anchor, and I'll get to this in a second. These systems cost blah blah blah. Could be at any price. I think so too, because I want you to jumpstart your business. Here are all the results, more proof, more proof.
$7.
You drop the price, then you drop the price again. But because I want you to get this, this, and this, whatever, but because reason,
in my family.
I'm not gonna ask for this. I'm not gonna ask for this.
Today. For a single payment of a single payment of it's free.
Yeah. So normally here you would reveal the actual price. He gave it for free. And this is what like the reason why I love this so much. But he built all this hype because sales in itself is like creating that compelling narrative and argument for someone to see a value in something. And many of these guys were already ready to pay the 5 grand or whatever he was about to sell it at. Like this thing had bloody 1 million views right? When he live streamed this book launch. But then he gave it all away for free. The thing is, it doesn't end there. There's more. He gives them a second
So
to.
the version was lead generation. Then you already know if you
No, again, I'm
you
not going to
already
ask you guys to. This is, we're going to use this as an example.
success
Oh, yeah, so I skipped a bit too forward ahead.
appreciation.
So
Give
then
them the
he's like,
huge,
you get more.
and as a token of
And then he's
appreciation,
like,
I'll give you my head.
you get this hat and you get all of these other things, right?
So let me
So he adds more stuff to it. Now, with that brief overview of the sales structure or strategy, and I would recommend a lot of you can just later go on and watch this $100 million leads launch because it is probably one of the best launches out there. There's also another one, which was if you Google Russell Brunson 10x Growth Conference, you'll find one of his videos in which it says he made 3 million or whatever where he sells, but that one is very sales focused and he speaks really fast. And um, if you're modeling someone, there are lots of ways to get to the top of the mountain. Again, there are lots of ways to close. This structure or this strategy is the one that I recommend. Now, we're gonna get into how you can make this for yourself. I'll try to simplify the process, make it step by step, and it's gonna be divided into three components. First one is gonna be the main offer, presenting it. Then it's gonna be the bonuses, and then it's gonna be the stacking close upon close upon close, right? Um, and Hormozy did all of these, and this is like sort of a mixture of Jason Fladlins, who wrote the book One Too Many, and has been regarded by some as one of the most successful um, overall sales speakers who has done one to many closes and spoken from stage and stuff like that. So he also worked with Hormozy on this launch. So this is like sort of a weird mixture of his framework, plus also like, I mean, it's like a version of framework that most of these sales speakers use. If you've been to sales conferences where you see it being a sales festival where every single person is selling, and some of them are absolutely horrible, um, this would be something you would find elements of this over there. Now, before we get into the actual sales part, the other thing that I would like you guys to consider is, what I need you to consider is this is a battle-tested framework, so it works. It has stood the test of time, and it covers a lot of variables that you might want to be fancy with it, but don't do it until you're advanced. If you're starting out, just take what works. This is why this is the only first play I've included. In the future, I might cover different ways of selling from stage as well. But this playbook or this closing structure, go ahead with this one. It is probably the most basic and the most effective as well. Um, and yeah, like keep things simple. This would work. Now, let's share my screen again, and this time I'll move on to my Zoom presentation, which I need to move this thing below. Let's go over here and let's get to the start. And we're just gonna go from the offer core part. So what will likely happen is, actually, let me just stop sharing and I'll just minimize my screen size. Before we start, I hope all of you have built your offers. If you haven't, go back and watch offer creation part 2 video or the second video in which I focus on building stage offers, right? That covers all the variables and everything else because all of you have different industries, so you need to have an offer in place first. And let's assume we're getting started. We have done our transition. So whatever, for those of you who want something more, or like you've done your presentation and you're moving towards the closing section, you're like, now I can leave things here, or I can give you guys something, or I can take 10 minutes to present you something that would allow you to take it even further for those of you who are interested, or whatever transition you use. Um, and if you've provided value and people are committed to you, they would want to hear what you have to offer. Most of them would do. Don't feel awkward here. Again, if you have a product or service that genuinely can change lives, then you should definitely focus here. So you have the offer in place. The first thing you do, obviously, is name what the offer is. So I'm going to present to you guys the 100 million leads launch playbook, or I'm going to present to you guys the um, whatever if it's a workshop bundle, six-figure mastery playbook, or I'm gonna present to you the weight transformation if you're in the fitness space, or whatever the thing is, whatever the outcome-oriented name we made before. You start with that, you have a picture with it, and then you start. So here's what it's gonna include. The first thing you're gonna get is, and then you show the picture of the first thing that they are gonna get. So I'll just jump right in and just start sharing the screen. And this is the same thing that you guys just saw a second ago. So let's share, present. All right. So generally, whatever you present is going to have four components. But the first thing you're going to present is the name, and tagline is optional, right? This is what your slide is going to look like. So Harmozy said, the first five clients framework. You do the same thing. The first fitness transformation framework, or the first whatever the thing is. Or if it's a community, you mentioned that the first thing you guys are getting access to is this um, let's just call it life accelerator community. Again, let's suppose you're in the life coaching space or health, wealth, love, happiness, or relationships or whatever, or relationship transformation community. Let's just go with that, for example. You mentioned the name, then the next thing that is included, so it's like a four-part component, right? Whenever you're presenting a main offer or an inclusion, sorry, a component of the offer, every single inclusion, you ideally spend a minute on it, spend 30 minutes on the main copy, 15 minutes on the proof, and 15 minutes on feature base. Hermosi runs slightly longer, but it varies a bit, but for your case, because we later on spend more time on the bonuses for the specific play that I'm teaching you, um, this is like the time frames you want to go at because you don't want to go into like a long tangent. People have short attention spans, and the longer you sell, the more it might start putting them off, right? The second thing is try to make your first thing something extremely valuable. The reason for that is two things happen when you're selling. Um, Two things happen when you're selling from stage. People might start to leave, even if it's virtual or it's in person, right? Because some people just, that's just how it is. Don't worry, some people won't buy no matter what you do. So you want to hook the ones in the beginning with the most value packed product. Some people say you keep the best at the end because it builds that overall anticipation over and over. But I would say you have the best one in the beginning and then have the second and the third best ones and bonuses towards the end, right? And then you have everything else in the middle. So you're at least hooking people in so they're able to see the value of what is available. So let's say we've done that. So we start by naming the cool name, then we explain why it is what it is. So for example, in this case, if it is a community, I might say something like, and here you can use, generally for you guys, use problem solution, outcome as the one or the benefit oriented one. So if I'm using a community, I might say, so a lot of people who or clients I used to work with, one of the biggest reasons or one of the biggest complaints they had was the people they were surrounding themselves with couldn't understand what they were going through in their life transformation journey, right? And they weren't ambitious, and some of them thought they were weird. And even in my journey in the beginning, I wanted to be surrounded by people who held me accountable, who were on the same path, so that when I was able to find that for myself, it just changed my game. All right. And I want to give you guys the same thing, right? So this is why I created this exclusive community where we have regular meetups, where it's a Facebook group or whatever the thing is, right? And within it, you will have your friends, you might find your business partners or whatever, and you guys can hold each other accountable. You'll share your stories. There will be people who are already experienced in it, and they can come in and you'll be able to get advice from them and it'll be so much more valuable for you, right? So with this, you no longer have to worry about people or you no longer have to feel alone in this journey of yours because I know how bad that is, right? So main copy and then proof, and then you can give an example. So this is like an example. So this is um, Max. He joined this community and he has already lost more weight and feels more accountable with it or whatever the outcome is. So you just show them as a result. And then you feature base. So as soon as you guys join, the very next thing that's going to happen is like you'll immediately get access to this. So you will already be able to meet more people who are like-minded like you. You'll be able to make connections. Everybody's so warm and we're welcoming off each other. And we might host an event or a welcoming new members like Zoom meeting or whatever. And then you'll get access to that. I just made all of that up, right? In Hormozy's case, this is what he did. So he gave the name, first five clients framework. Then the main copy or the benefits where he was like, for those of you who want to get your first five clients, but you have $0 budget, and you want a system that is reliable, that is low risk, that is repeatable, that is low cost. So he talks about like the problem or the sort of like the requirement and and if you need customers, this is, and then so this is what you do. So you'll get this first five clients frameworks, and this is the fastest, cheapest, and most certain way to get them, right? So he solves this problem of having something reliable, low risk, repeatable, and that is low cost by having this framework. And that is Warren Rishi presents it. And through this, you'll be able to get your first five clients. You can start your business, you can quit your job, and you can make whatever this next thing is, right? That's an example. Then he gave the proof. So if you see the video before, he was like, in fact, Alexis used the principles from the first five clients framework to start to get her first online business, and then got three customers per month, and then the month after, or whatever, per week, ongoing. And then he future paced it, if you guys remember that. He was like, so for those of you, as soon as you are able to get this, you'll be able to like imagine what it's worth for you, or imagine having your first client, so finally leaving the job or finally being able to pursue your dreams. And this is the only thing you need. So he future paced that, right? And then he stacked it. I didn't mention it here, but then he would stack that on top of every single inclusion. So every time you conclude it, so let's say after future pace, the next slide might be something like, so he could say, so let's suppose I already had three things before I write. So not only are you gonna get the leads playbook, not only are you gonna get the affiliate system, so you can get all these things, but you're also gonna get the first five clients framework. So at no budget, you can get this thing, right? So he would stack everything on top of each other. So every time you mention a new bonus or a new inclusion, you repeat the previous as well. And there's like a slide where you show all of that. And the reason for that is people have short memory and you're mentioning a lot of things. So you want to remind them of everything that is included, otherwise they forget. But you also don't want to spend too much on this. Spend like a minute doing this. Like what I just did right now, it'd be like a minute to a minute and a half. And the more inclusions you have, the more shorter you want to make this. Um, yeah, again, if you're starting out, you might not be that good at sales and you might put people off. So be mindful of that. No, uh, we already mentioned this. So after if you see him when he did all of that, the next thing that Hormozy did was, or the next thing you'll find speakers do when you're selling from stage is once you have told them everything that is included in the main offer, and the main offer already is super incredible, you present its price. And also the reason you want to do it as quick as possible is because a person can't relate to the product or service not until they know what its cost is. So, for example, if I'm selling you like a Porsche, right? And I might say it has 400 horsepower and it has carbon fiber body and it has like it can go from 0 to 100 in the speed and all these things are included. But not until I tell you the price. Like if I tell you it's for $1, you'll be like, hell yeah, I want it. If I tell you it's for 1 million, you'll be like, I can't do that. So until I didn't don't tell you the price, no matter what features I list, you can't relate to it and see its value, right? So that's why you reveal the price. But the thing is, quite often people would not be open to the price reveal you do. So like when I mentioned the price for the first time, many people are put off by it. Like the first reaction is no. And you want to anticipate for that. So that's why deliberately this is the reason why this is was supposed to be done. Now I've seen people who forget the reason why the element was the way it was, right? Um, the reason why you reveal a high price and then drop down is so you get the no out of their system and then make it easier for them to say yes, so that the friction they thought they would have to sacrifice so much for it, it drops and now they're like, oh, now it should be easier. That's why you would see speakers from stage or everyone else doing that, where they would first reveal the price. So normally this is valued at, so all of these, so obviously with every single item you reveal it what its value is, and then you say, so for a value for like 12,000, all of this, you can get access to all of these things. The reason also you use value, like you can use investment as well, and then later drop it down. Generally, people just use the word value. Another lesson for the beginning, just do this, but later on, when you're more advanced, or especially if you're selling in an environment where there are multiple sales speakers, try to avoid doing things that everyone else is doing as well. So you might have want to spend some time coming up with new creative angles to convey the same point. But anyways, so let's say we've done this. Now, the next thing that you're gonna do is I'm gonna share my screen again and I'm gonna present the thing again. Also, you generally want to maintain the energy during this process or have strong convictions, right? You link it to a high price point to get the no, and then you drop it, and then you drop it again. And if you guys remembered seeing Hormozy previously, he did the same thing. He'd be like, this is valued for $12,000. You get access to all of these things, right? And then he goes on to say, but I'm not even going to give you because I want you guys to get results. I'm not going to charge you 12 for it. I'm not going to charge you 5 for it. I'm not even going to charge you 2,000 for it. I'm going to give you 3 for free. But obviously you will likely have a price point in mind. So you just mention that and you just drop it twice, right? It just opens up the possibility for someone to buy. This is also something that can repel people if it's not done right. So the reasoning you use to justify the drop is going to be important. Don't do this in a robotic fashion. Like, honestly, this will be the next piece of advice that I can give you guys is, and I'm going to stop sharing again. The other important piece of advice I can give you guys is the things that are repeated constantly have stronger justifications for them. And that would ensure that people are not in the zone of taking that stereotype as something that they had a negative experience with before. Because people sometimes, like, especially if it's an audience that has been sold to before, if you're like in a new industry, like if you're doing health coaching or something like life coaching related, um, generally it's not an issue. Business coaches, you might struggle with this. So stronger justifications like the reason I can lower the price is because of whatever, be genuine about that, right? Because because I care about you guys. And I want to make sure that all of you are able to get access to this thing that I've built because I knew how bad it was in the beginning. Whatever reason you use, present that. Then you drop it and you drop it again. Here's an example. First, you anchor it to a high price. Okay, so I forgot to mention this before. Do I have a lesson for this before? Oh yeah, so this was the price anchor part. Um, you can do this price anchor before or after. So once you reveal the value, you could do this both times. So once you reveal the price, you could say, in the right hands, this $12,000 of program and everything else you get, your ability to get more clients, your ability to get all these things could be worth millions to you. And for example, you look at this guy specific and you give proof for it to the anchor. So the first thing you could do is you show customer results. So in the right hands of this person, this was worth millions, right? So if you could make millions from something, wouldn't you want to spend? Or if you could get this perfect body, or if you could get the relationships of your dreams and have the friends and finally stop having to fight with your spouse or whatever, wouldn't you want this at this price point? In the right hands, that's how much it's worth. Second is comparing it to industry price ceilings, which is if you have an agency. So for example, um, if you hire like a matchmaker, they're gonna charge you whatever X. So this is like a fitness example, right? If you were to hire a matchmaker, you'd end up paying them all of this money and plus all the dating site and like everything else that you're doing, or if you hire like a professional or something. In business, it's higher. In fitness, it varies. Like the other example, like in fitness, people would pay me this much for a personal training session, and for this, it would take 70 sessions. So if you were to pay me that, it might cost you 30, 17 or whatever, $1,000, right? Because it takes 6 months, but you guys are getting access to that lifelong skill or the longest road solutions. If you were to try to do it yourself through trial and error, it might take you all of this time and all of this effort and all of this money and the mistakes that you'd have to make. And you can give your example. So when I was learning it, it took me all of this long. You might have seen Hormozi did that, where it costed him 12,000 or whatever millions to come up with this framework, right? Or the other thing you can compare that is to getting a degree. So marketers, you can get a marketing degree, which is not worth it, or you can sign up for a mastermind or whatever. Um, so here are some examples of the ways he anchored the price. These systems are more valuable than the masterminds that sell for 25,000, 50,000, even 100,000 from the goobers who've never done it and will give you hilariously more value than $100,000 for your degree. And if you were to pay me hourly one-on-one based on my hourly earnings, it would cost you $2 million, right? Um, so even if I were to price this at 100 grand, it would be justified. But I'm not going to charge you that much. I'm not even going to charge you this much. I'm going to give it to you for whatever price point. And now you reveal the price with scarcity, urgency, and call to action. So over here, you can tell them for whatever specific, this is like a typical line that I probably shouldn't have added, but this is what is used in events where they would say, so for the first 27 of you who go to the back of the table and sign up, you can have it at this price point, right? Might be a good idea to use something else instead of that because it's overused. Um, Again, depends on your industry. If you haven't had this experience, if some of you have no idea, and I get surprised by this as well. So ignore me entirely if you haven't been to events where they try to sell you something or you haven't had that much experience, and that assumes your audience doesn't. Most people don't do that, right? So by all means, just use this as it is. Stack your core offer, everything, reveal the price, anchor it to something higher, drop it. And then over here, they might still not have decided. They might still be over the fence. And because this is just 30% of the way, we still have 60% more stuff left. So with that, let's get into the bonuses. So after you've anchored the price, after you reveal them, now you start telling them what the bonuses. Where they thought, okay, so I get all of this at this price point. That's good. But like, wait, there's more, right? And if you look at Hormozy, he was adding like hats or whatever. Normally, you want to add things that are even better quality. So getting the maybes to free exclusive bonuses. So on top of that, you'll also get and then you also add scarcity to every single bonus, right? And I mentioned this later on in the closes, but like bonuses, for example, on top of that, you also get access to this one-on-one session with me that I normally charge all of this amount for. On top of that, and then you give the context behind it, you do the same thing. You tell it what it is. Within this, we can personalize everything to you, find out what you're struggling with. So I can give you tailored advice so you don't feel like it's a cookie cutter approach. And this pretty much ensures you. And then like you do the same thing. You give the main copy and then you give proof. Normally, like these are all the results that my clients got because they were able, like, or the people who worked with me got. And once you've done this, you'd have this personalized tailored advice that works for you. You can keep it short. You don't want to use, like, if you don't want to use testimonials, then just give them proof of that it works some other way, right? Um, like, one-on-one sessions with me are probably the area where we are able, like, this is what it looks like. You can show them the process, the case study, and then the results they will get from it, right? An example. You do that for all the bonuses, have 3 to 4 bonuses, have them, bonuses need to have the wow factor because this is now the hype being built. Like you're creating the anticipation and the hype and the value in this section even more so than everything you included in beforehand, right? And they might have rejected the offers. They'd be like, you sold it. I'd be like, all right, it's good, but I don't know. Now you present the bonuses. And then you add urgency and see a scarcity of the bonuses. But I can only do a limited number of one-on-ones. So this is only for the first 15 of you that go and sign up out of the whatever total limited spots we have. And the other thing is you try to sprinkle scarcity throughout it, scarcity and urgency because otherwise they won't take the action. Now, don't use negative scarcity and urgency. I'll get to this later. Um, like people misuse scarcity and urgency, and that can have the opposite effect where people might just feel like you're trying to sell them something and then they don't want it. But if you use genuine scarcity and urgency, like in this case, I can only do a limited number of, like, I wish I could give one-on-ones to every single one of you out there, but I only have this much hours a day and I have all of these other responsibilities, right? So sustainably, while keeping my mental health intact, these are the only fixed number of one-on-ones I can do. And then you might add another thing, which is like a private masterclass that they get access to, and be like, we have it as an interactive session. So I can only let a fixed number of you in it, and I already have my previous community as well. So whatever things you get give access to them in the bonuses, as long as it has the wow factor and more value and seem even better, you'll be able to build that hype up. So now you've revealed the bonuses, you've added urgency or scarcity to the bonuses. Sometimes even more effective thing is make bonuses. Like this was called the bonus roulette clause, where the first 10 of you will only get access to, like you make bonuses in a way that they're the like numbers wise it decreases. Now this is optional, this is advanced, but like I only have 10 one-on-one sessions. The first 10 of you that get access to this will get the one-on-ones. Now, after that, you have this private intensive group session that you'll have with this friend that I'm doing it with, who is like an expert. but we only can fit in 20 people. So 20 people, so the 1 to 20 who sign up, the first 20 would have access to this. The next 30 would get access to this. The next 40 would get access to this. So it's like the bonuses are built in a way, or you do it in reverse, where you mention the most valuable at the end, where this is only for the first 10, and everyone get access to this. This is only for the first 40. This can only be done for 30. This can only be done for 20. Um, and that creates that sort of effect of people wanting to move. If you're into that, again, slightly advanced, generally just list out the bonuses. Should be enough with their genuine scarcity and urgency, whatever slots you have. And moving on to the next thing. So after you've listed the bonuses, what you do after that is stack bonuses the same way. You also get this bonus, you also get this bonus. Now you stack everything again with the offer plus the bonuses, and then you do another call to action. So here's everything else you get. And I genuinely believe with this system that we implement for you, you can like change your life or change or get the goals that you're after. So you create that gap and it will fix those problems for you and help you achieve these outcomes. So go in and take that action, right? Like generally it's the same gap selling framework, but you're just doing it differently. Where you're talking about the problem, the impact of the problem, the dream outcome, the impact of the dream outcome, and the thing in between and how we can fix it. For those of you who have seen the one-on-one training, you can think of this whole or just change the problem solution into gap structure, where for every one of these main copy, when you're justifying everything, you can create that gap, which is like you talk about the problem and the impact that problem is having. So just taking the same thing I gave earlier, which was community, right? So I was alone, and a lot of people complained to me the same reason that they were alone. And that was the problem. And the reason and the effect that was happening is I couldn't stick because I couldn't find accountable partners and I couldn't, um, you know, and I felt like isolated. I had all this pressure on myself to be different. Yet, and then you talk about the impact of the problem. And this was sort of preventing me from achieving my health goals and it was impacting my life. So you enhance that. And then you talk about the solution or create the gap, but I wanted a way to fix it, right? And that's how I finally was able to find a first group of friends who were able to pull me out of that thing I had stuck myself in and hold me accountable and guide me throughout the process. So, and with that, I was finally able to achieve the health goals, the life goals, and the relationship goals I had. So, I know you guys are struggling with this and how bad it is and how big of a divide it can be and how difficult it is to um, fix it, which is why I've just solved it for you. So all of the impact of not having the right people that is being happening in your life and all the things you want, once you get that, this inclusion would resolve it. That's like overall a very weird way of creating it. Again, depends main copy, there are different ways of selling it. But so for example, Hormozy just justified the benefits and the um, inclusions that you get from it. You also, again, don't want to spend too much. So maybe reserve the more in-depth sales for the more important aspects, right? Again, now you've done this. The next thing you do is, before we move on to stacking closes, which I will likely do in the next video, is you handle resistance by adding guarantees. So I don't need to read all of that stuff. The thing is, a guarantee is again, something I mentioned earlier, which this is an area that can 2 to 3x your sales if it's used properly. I can't underestimate. Like, even if everything else you did was wrong, or you didn't follow the script, or you messed up, or whatever the thing was, a more irresistible guarantee that is tied to outcomes and results which they're after. Because again, people want they want the dream outcome. They want the vacation. They want to go to Bali. They don't care about the plane flight and all of those things. You tie it to that and you make a guarantee that they'll get there. It's super easy to get them to say yes. Like, for example, if I say, like, this is the same thing that happens in one-on-ones as well, right? Where if it's a fitness game, I can guarantee that if you follow all of this, I will guarantee that you'll hit your weight loss goal in 6 months, right? And if we can't get there, I'll give you your money back or I'll keep on working with you until you hit there. So there are different kinds of guarantees. There are money back, like full refund guarantees. And some are conditional. Honestly, having And imperfect guarantees is better than having no guarantee at all. Definitely, definitely, definitely add this. I don't care if some weird ass inclusion that you had in the back end, which you haven't been able to fully build yet, and you think that's going to be the deciding factor, hasn't been finished yet. Don't worry about that. Make the guarantees first. Make them better. Emphasize them properly. Give them proper time. This is one of the key aspects of the close, right? A person with a guarantee versus a sales speaker without a guarantee, you'll see a big difference in the results. I've seen this firsthand. So let's say unconditional guarantee is a conditional guarantee might be something like you come in, you apply everything, and you don't get results, I'll give you your money back, right? That's a conditional one. Unconditional could be like whether tomorrow or 90 days from now, whether for any reason or for no reason at all, you decide that you don't want this, just let us know and we'll give you your money back, no questions. I'll just go to this website, walk them through the process, and be like, because, and then finish that off with saying that because I know how much likely if we do all of this, it is going to work, that I can make this guarantee to you because objectively, this will work, right? And sometimes like Jason Fladlin had this thing where he would just even take it a step further, where he would have this so this is the second form of guarantee that works even better, but I'll get to that in a second, which is results, like guarantee tied to results. Otherwise it has like a big consequence. Before we get into that, so what Jason Fladlin did was he got a letter written from his lawyer that said that or his bank or whatever, where he's like, we have all of this money in the bank, so any of you can call the bank and ask them how much I have left, right? And I've given the banker the permission. So this is the war chest that you have where I'm investing in you and I'm betting on you to get the results. So if you think you can't, like, you can just take the, like, we'll refund you. You're not, we don't care about your money. And this also later on ties well into I will be fine either way. Close where you sort of create that feeling that you're helping them out instead of them coming to you for something. But anyways, so that's like the one. Now. The even result tied guarantee is there are different ways of doing this. I've seen this be misused as well. But this is like if you don't get this outcome, you don't pay. But those are even, or we will pay you, or we'll have our skin in the game. That's the other thing. There are two ways of doing this. First one is like a performance based, which is like you pay half, you only pay the remaining half once you have this result, right? The other one is like that's how much confident I am that it's also my skin in the game. Other one is which can also be used with the same backup is this, let's say the program is worth 5 grand, right? So like you do this and it doesn't like within the you apply this for the next 6 months or 2 months or 3 months, whatever, and you're not able to get the results or you're not able to land your speaking gig or hit your weight loss target or hit whatever. Again, this varies. Some of your financial services doesn't apply there, or be careful. But if you can't hit that, I will not only pay you the amount you paid me back. As a matter of fact, I will double that up. I'll give you 10,000 back. I won't only refund you, but I'll also pay you for your time, money invested and stuff like that, right? It's similar to those marketing guys who would guarantee that I'll pay you back your ad spend and the amount you spent because I know this is gonna work. Now this works if your product is that good. All right. Those of you who are feeling weirded probably means you don't believe enough in your product yet. So what's the catch? And I get it, some of you might not be able to pull this off because the product might not be as good. And you're relying on making the sale so you can improve the product. So in that case, just use other previous ones because now I'm going to justify this. The reason for a guarantee is not that much tied to the quality of the product. I mean, that is a factor, but it has more to do like it's for those of you thinks, oh, I don't need to offer a guarantee because my product is good. No, it's because the person in their mind wants to avoid risk. All of us are like built like that, and they don't want to lose something. They don't want to make a mistake, and they're afraid of that. And they've probably had bad experience in the past. So you assuring them that that won't happen, and I get it. I get it. That's why they're the guarantees here. So there's no chance of you failing, and if anything goes wrong, it's on me. Um, that ensures that the person who is making the purchase feels comfortable going ahead. That's the whole point. The other aspect is that, give me a second. I lost my train of thought. That it's a business decision, not a financial decision. Like if your closes increase by 70% by adding a guarantee, because whatever hesitation or mistake you made, sometimes it's better to have backup plans. Um, and you get 20% refunds, but you made 70% more sales. Why not? Right? So it's a business decision. Adding guarantees as well. It's logically you're doing it. So you're not just like taking risk because of some emotional standpoint, which some of you are doing. That's fine. I'm good. Good on you. But at the same time, logically as well, offering guarantees is the better business decision. Have some form of guarantee in it. And also, the other mistake I've seen people make, and this is like so weird, where like they just add a guarantee and defeat the purpose of having the guarantee. Where this is with those really complex um, guarantees that are like that say from stage that, oh, on that note, but if you are able to, I need you to be this and I need you to do this and within this time frame, whatever the thing is, and they mention a guarantee and then they try to just like talk the person out of conditions where the person literally feels like, oh, it means the product doesn't work, which is why he's made it. The guarantee is so much conditional. So some people add guarantee, but then try to justify it on the scenario, like I won't be able to refund you if you do this, and they start talking about that. Don't do that. I've seen that happen. It's just like yeah, it's very weird. We get the point, right? Now we're just 60% in. So you have given your main offer, you've given your um bonuses and you've stacked it up and you've made them a irresistible guarantee. Now we're gonna stack closes on closes on closes, and I'll do that in the next one because there's so many different closes and there are so many different ways of going this. And it's just like it's like a compelling nature that handles objections and arguments and stuff like that. If you look at my objection handling video that is done for one-on-one, highly recommend you watch it. Um, it covers a lot of these aspects where people might have price objection or time objection or money, oh sorry, price is the same, price, time, or permission objection or fear or product-based specific obstacles they have related to the thing that you're offering, like when can I start or something like that. Product specific ones, you cover those from stage. All of these others, like, so we'll get into that in the next one, but you generally, actually, let's get into that in the next one. See you guys in the next video.